war is a drug, man.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And at the time, I was just kind of addicted.
All right. We're rolling.
Yeah.
Dude, so let's just continue that story you were talking about, man. And you growing up in New Mexico. You were talking to me about your brother getting shot.
Right. Right. Yeah. No. Like I was saying, I was pretty young, like little league age, right?
Yeah.
We win this game. My dad's at the game, and it's happy. It's like a happy time, right? And so my dad says, "All right," he's like, "All right, we got to go. Your brother just got shot. I think they're taking him to Albuquerque." Right. It turns out he was at a park with 3-4 other people in his car. He's driving, or I'm sorry, he's sitting behind the wheel while they're parked, and the guy behind him shoots him in the back. I don't know why or who or what or any of those details, but he drove himself to the hospital, and he ended up surviving, right?
Yeah.
But it was just kind of like his life was just it was just tumultuous, man. It was like a snowball of bad things,
Yeah.
and a lot of that's just based on choices, in your environment. But yeah, that was a big motivation for me to kind of get up from where I was at and move on.
What part of New Mexico did you grow up in?
Deming, New Mexico, southern New Mexico.
Is it pretty rough, or because it sounds like your older brother was running around like kind of rough, right? Rugged. Was it kind of a rough neighborhood, or
it can be?
Yeah.
It can be a rough area in general. There's a lot of just drug trafficking, and stuff like that, and a lot of people get into it in high school. It's like 15-year-old kid driving this, from point A to point B. We'll give you, a few $1,000.
Right.
I personally wasn't involved in that, but I know people and like friends and classmates and stuff like that,
right,
who did, man. And that was just, and they're living good lives now. They're like normal. It's fine. That was just kind of the way things went back then. But there were a lot of like obstacles I could see, right? It's like,
right.
Don't go that way, go this way. It's like, it's almost like I had somebody kind of showing me the way a little bit, but through others' mistakes.
Like you were learning from other people's mistakes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's kind of my whole story, man. That's how I've learned.
Right.
Anything is through watching other people fuck it up.
So were you so September 11th played a big role? Is that what inspired you to go join the military?
Yeah, I was 17 still, and I was getting ready to go to one of my last classes of my senior year, and I was in there eating like a cinnamon roll or something like that, and I'm watching on our TV, and I see the second plane come in and hit the towers, and I'm like, no fucking way! Like, this is a movie, right? Like, this. It was unreal, right? Just as everybody else who saw it that day would think, but like, I felt attacked, right? Even though I'm a kid in New Mexico, thousands of miles away from this going on, it has nothing to do with me, right? But seeing that, and just the unity of that time is something that made me feel like I should go and be a part of fighting for our country. So yeah, that was a huge factor.
What job did you pick?
So I signed up for the infantry, right, to be an assaultman, and that's like we do demolition. We do some breaching. We have the javelins. We have the SMAW. And I mean, it's just one of the elements of an infantry unit. You got your machine gunners, you got your riflemen, mortarmen.
Right.
Probably got a sniper team attached. And then you have the assaultmen, right? The assaultmen, we're there to take out heavy armor, buildings, things like that. But by the time we got to Iraq, there was no armor, right? I mean, we're fighting against people in cars and just kind of makeshift things like that. So we really didn't see too much. We really didn't break out the rockets and the missiles, right? So it was just, everybody there was basically a rifleman.
Yeah.
You're a rifleman or a machine gunner.
Right.
So
you sign up as an assaultman, and then But you started off as what I believe the Marine Corps calls a B billet, right? And fast company.
Yeah.
Okay, so explain to people, man, what's fast stand for?
Fast company is just basically a rapid deployable security defensive unit,
Yeah.
right? So if there's an embassy or any other kind of like U.S. installation area, U.S. interest, say in Yemen or somewhere, and suddenly it gets attacked, right? It's a force that they would use to go in and try to mitigate that. Although at the time, a lot of us in the unit felt like we were extremely underutilized.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. We have a lot of training, but we weren't getting a lot of missions until we got a Baghdad mission that was in what did I say 2005.
And well, just to let everybody know, Fast Company, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's like Fleet Anti-Terrorism Security Team, right?
Fleet Anti-Terrorism Security.
And
team.
that's like, it's basically like a fucking Marine Corps SWAT team, if you will.
That's what they try to. That's what they'll say, right?
That's how I see it. I mean, it's a lot of close quarters combat, a lot of close quarters battle, and
close quarters
stuff.
combat.
Yeah.
Anti-terrorist driving and evasion.
Right.
Different surveillance.
Okay.
Things like that. So it's a little, like, I guess, more kind of
yeah. So you're 2005 Baghdad, right?
It's 2005, first time in Iraq, and it's funny because I don't know if you ever saw that movie Iron Eagles.
I haven't.
I'm sorry, Hot Shots. Excuse me.
Yes, I've seen that.
Hot Shots with Louis Gossett, and they've got like the guy playing Saddam, and they're kind of making a parody of it, right?
Right.
That movie that was like one of my favorite movies growing up as a kid, and that was like my idea of Saddam Hussein, right? Like this character from this movie. And so in 2005, we land in Biop. We don't have, there's really no vehicles to take us anywhere, so we're using the airport shuttles, right? That are still there at Baghdad International. We hop in those. We drive down Route Irish into Baghdad, right? So, and I have really no idea where we're going to this point until we get to our destination, and I get out of the vehicle, and as I do, I look up, and there he is, Saddam Hussein, like 50 feet tall, right there. His tower just looking right out over me. You know what I mean? And then I look down, and there's like three more of the same statues on the corners of his palace. And so that ended up being where we spent the next like 6 months, kind of there at the Republican Palace.
Yeah.
They were calling it at the time. Yeah. And that was, a lot of indirect fire rockets and mortars and stuff like that. And got kind of boring. But the interesting thing about that deployment was, like I said, we were in the palace, and this is like the headquarters. This is like the White House of Iraq at the time, right? Mm-hmm. So you're seeing everything that's going on. You're seeing the prime ministers, like, Rumsfeld, Hillary Clinton was there, Geraldo Rivera. These people I can remember just, we were out there. I'm actually, I'm taking a shit one time in the palace, and I've got my rifle leaned up against the door of the stall, and I see some feet next to me, right? And I'm like, I've been awake for a while, and I'm kind of delirious, and I'm like, hey man, how's it going? It's like, so hey, I'm doing pretty good. How you doing? And it's like a real deep voice, and so both get out of the stall, and it's a fucking WWE wrestler right there, and it's like the most random thing ever. David Letterman, like, outside of the walls, you have all this. There's like combat going on. There's warfare going on, and then it's just right in this little place, right in the middle of it all. It's like nothing's even happening.
Right.
You know what I mean? There's people. There's an Olympic-sized pool, and people are having parties and like drinking and chilling and shit like that. And they're like looking at us like who are you? What are you doing here?
Right.
But there's also like a lot of frustration, because you're basically sitting there getting targeted and rocketed and things like that, and you can't really do much about it.
Right.
But yeah, the second deployment was another combat deployment. Yeah, and that was with 2nd Marines out of Lejeune, and like I said, I was there. That's when I really got to kind of be the 0351, right? And you know, I got to the unit in the 2-2, man. They were some seasoned dogs, man. Like in the deployment before I got there, they had like been through the shit and back again, right?
Right.
So these guys had some experience, and you could see it on their face. You know what I'm saying? So I got to the unit, and I was just, you know, I just kind of observed, right? It's like you could see it, man. It's like when people come back from combat, there's a look on the face. You can tell. I don't know if it's just because we have, so we can see it, but I could see it, you know. And so
they call it like that 1,000-yard stare.
Yeah.
Deal, huh?
Yeah. And so I was there to learn, man. But I'd also learned a lot of useful stuff myself, being in FAST with like CQB and just marksmanship and training like that. So I was able to help kind of sharpen that area with these guys, and I learned a lot from them. So I'm a team leader, weapons company, and we get to our first deployment. Sorry. Our first deployment, Camp Fallujah, Iraq. Like, Paulk, you're going to go out with you're going to go do the RIP, right? Relief in place. So basically that's just, you know, one person from the new unit going with guys from the unit the existing unit, right? They're going to show you the ropes. So I'm riding along with them, and we're on a stretch of road, route mobile, between Baghdad and Fallujah, and securing that route. And you know, we're just out on a patrol, like you said, nothing's routine. So as we're going down the road, I'm checking my sector, watching off to the right side. It's almost like, you know, like this stuff like happens in slow motion when you think about it again. And I look back to the front, and there's a section of the freeway is in the air, right? And it's right when I see that I hear the concussion of the blast, kaboom, right? And the guys in the truck, they've been there a while, so they handle this shit right away. Boom, 50 cal swing, guy spots the trigger, man. Boom, lays it down, not long enough for us to get out of the Humvees. You know, he stops. We take off across the field, you know, and it's muddy, and we're already wearing like a shit ton of gear. So it takes us a second, and while we're doing that, they start taking shots at us while we're running across the field. And so we get closer, we get eyes on these guys. They throw their shit in the car and get out. And as they're trying to make their escape, they drive even closer, and then the guy makes a hard left, and he's already leaning over in his seat, right? So I see that. I have my M4 ACOG. I've got the dude like right here. I'm waiting for him just to kind of like come like right to my 12. And as I do, I almost like the same time as I put my eye in the sight, the dude like does his thumbs up to me, and almost as he does that thumbs up to me, he's like looking at me like, haha, motherfucker. That's when I'm like, boom, I squeeze off some rounds, and I miss, right? And so he keeps on going, and he's in an area to where, you know, there's civilians standing around, there's like, and things like that. So it's not, you have to be careful, right?
Right.
You can't just shoot indiscriminately into, you know, a bunch of people because of one dickhead. So, you know, but that was like, welcome to Iraq, like the real Iraq. You know, that was my second time. It was like the real time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, were you fucking pissed that you missed? How did you feel after that? Like,
I was like laughing to myself.
really?
Yeah, I was just like, fucking man, this fucking no shit. Like it was just the whole scene and the way everything kind of was, and the dude like giving a thumbs up and like that. It was just like, it's just.
So
I was kind of speechless, really.
Yeah. So you saw, obviously the bridge or the part of the freeway going up in the air, you know, that was an IED explosion, right?
IED, yeah, there was a bomb. So what they'll do is so a popular one was South African 155 millimeter artillery shells, right? So those are the shells they fire out of whatever their version of like a howitzer is, right? Big. So they'll take those and pack them full of explosives, right? It's most of the time it's homemade explosives. They'll tamp it in, put it under the road, you know, place it, and they'll detonate it with either like a remote detonator or a hardwired detonator, something like that. but it's like guerrilla tactics. That's like their go-to.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, that was something we faced often.
Yeah.
Right. And that was another frustrating part is, I mean, you can't shoot back at an IED.
Right.
Right. You can't defend yourself against an IED. You know.
Did anyone get hit with that? Was that targeted at your convoy?
That specific one?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Did anybody get hit with that?
No, nobody got hit.
Oh, okay.
We were extremely lucky.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. I remember right after that happened, that's the first thing that happened is the vehicle commander was reaching over, checking the gunner, right?
Mm-hmm.
Making sure he's good, everything's good. So
yeah,
there's it's miraculous, man. Sometimes what you can survive. We're going through Zaydan, Iraq one time, and you can tell when shit's about to happen because it turned into a ghost town, right? So we're going through this market, boom, everyone leaves. We have a truck full of Iraqi National Guard guys out with us, and driving through the market, and there's a piece of cowhide like draped over, looks like a pull-up bar, right? It's like hanging on this, probably drying out, and right as the Iraqi truck right behind me drove past it, there's an IED like wired to the like backside of this like cow skin, right? So we don't see it, and it goes off right like at head level on these guys, and it was loud, right? Like I heard it. We had some frag hit our Humvee, and you know, boom, boom, adrenaline starts going, and we get out. And I look back at this truck full of Iraqis, and I'm expecting to see just carnage, right? And they're all laughing and dancing, and none of them can believe that they're still alive, you know. But yeah, a lot of people, man. I mean, you know, that was the biggest. And it really is kind of a psychological mind fuck. Right, the IEDs and things like that. It's like you don't know. It's like you're defenseless, and that was a lot of. I mean, that really kind of affected how our whole deployment, right? Yep. So I think it was Ramadan, 2005. There was we've got. So I was in. As a 51, you're like in a mobile assault platoon, right? So we move around on Humvees and things like that. Another one of our platoons, right, driving around NWS, Nasr wa Salam, another small little kind of village outside of Fallujah. And we'd been going in and out of there, kind of patrolling it. We knew there was like, you know, there were things going on there, right? And so one night we're actually off, right? We're on our sleep cycle. Boom, we get a call, blue guy hit, right? And it was Staff Sergeant Pummel. There was Lance Corporal Rizzoli, Lance Corporal Swidek. They got hit with an IED made, you know, that was supposedly made for an Abrams. You know.
Tell people what an Abrams is. Not everybody.
Oh, an Abrams is a tank.
Yeah.
An M1 Abrams is an American tank, right?
So that IED was meant to blow a fucking tank up.
Yeah, exactly.
And these guys got hit by it.
In a Humvee.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, they all were KIA, you know, but like I said, we were back on our rest time at that point. And somebody was like, hey man, you got to come out here and help them get all this shit inside. Because right where they got hit wasn't far from the base. Boom. So, you know, the guys who were there gathered up everything they could, put it in bags, you know, plastic trash bags, brought it back to the fob. And I'm looking in the trash bags, and it's like, you know, pieces of Humvee equipment, and they were just inside of a vehicle where that had happened. So you can imagine what everything is covered in, right? And it has a smell, right? The smell of burnt flesh, the smell of blood, the smell of gunpowder in this bag. And it was just, from that point on, the entire mood of the deployment changed, right? Everything, you know, up until that, it wasn't bright all all bright and sunny, but there was a little brightness to it. After this happened, it was game, like serious business, right? Kind of game on. Yeah, and that's the beginning of Ramadan. This is I believe the next day. Yeah, next day, right? Easy Company is out again in Zaydan, and like everybody's moving like in Humvees, right? E11's everybody.
Right.
It's just too much ground to cover to try and like walk everywhere.
Were you guys in 7 tons as well?
No, the only time I remember being in a 7-ton was leaving, going to flying out, like leaving the country,
Okay.
going to the airport,
Right.
at night, like trying, But so we got the word Easy Company got hit, right? And these Marines, they got hit, and sometimes what'll happen is when they get hit with the IEDs, it blows all the doors open and everything out of the Humvees, right? Some kind of. But anyway, there was a corporal and a captain were blown into the canal, and they couldn't find anything. One of the units even they had the SEALs in there to try and do a dive with their scuba gear and stuff like that, see if they could find anything, and I don't think that was successful. So I think the only thing found were body parts, basically. Nothing really that they could use for identification. Right? These guys are missing in action. So we're out there. We kind of cordoned off this section of the canal, and we're sitting out there. Feels like over 24 hours, right? And the people in the village think that because while this is going on, the canal is being drained. So hopefully we can see what's at the bottom and find this guy, right? So people think we're trying to take their water, which was not the case at all. So there's people coming up to the canal, trying to fill up whatever they can, doing that, and we're thinking that we're like, no, we can't let anybody get close, because if they pick up a body part, a uniform, or something like that, that's just going to be, that's at a time when all those propaganda videos were like going strong, and so it was kind of tense. So I'm sitting in the Humvee, and probably about like 25 yards in front of me, there's a footbridge, right? And that's what they use, like what a sheep herder will walk a sheep across, or something like that. It's real narrow, right? Nothing too elaborate. And I'm watching this guy walk across the footbridge. It's an Iraqi man, and he stops for a moment, looks down towards the water, and then he's visibly distraught after that. And I could see that from that distance, and he kind of freaks out and takes off running. And I'm like, well, what's this all about? So I run after him. I grab a hold of him, and he's freaking out, right? And he's like shaking. And I'm like, what's going on? He obviously doesn't understand me, and I don't understand him. But until he grabs my uniform, he's like Jundi, and Jundi is soldier in Arabic. And right away, I got the idea what was going on, and I just kept saying, where, like where? He just kept pointing towards that footbridge. Boom! So I take off, I run towards the footbridge, and like I was saying, man, this water, it was like, it looked like chocolate milk, like up until like then, right? And I walk up to the bridge, and I'm looking around, and I see him, and it's like God was like, there he is. I mean, like you see like how the sunlight comes through the clouds, like I was telling you, and that's what was happening. The sun was coming down, and the rays in the water were just so clear, and it was exactly right on the Marine's body, right? And I could see him lying in the fetal position, all his gear on and everything. Nothing. He didn't even look like anything had happened to him, right? But I jump in and into the canal, and as soon as I do, my feet hit the bottom. All the dust or all the mud at the bottom of the canal kicks up. Can't see anything. And so I start feeling around with my hands. Boom! I got my hands on his chin strap. Start pulling on his chin strap, and then I realized it's probably not a good thing to do, right? And So, his body's too waterlogged at that point and too heavy with all the gear on it for me to lift it out from underneath the water. So another Marine jumps in and helps me get him out. And we drag him out. We drug him onto the shore. Like I said, he still had all his gear on, everything, helmet, chin strap buckled. Yeah, I think he even had a rifle slung, if I'm not mistaken. But it was really, that was like really another time, because that's when you see, I mean, it's different. Like you hear about people being killed and people dying like that, but when you're looking at somebody wearing your same uniform,
Yeah.
Another one of you there, I mean, it really, it changes the game, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I bet. And then, not only just seeing them, but like having to get down there and get your hands on them and recover them,
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, that was, I was pretty shook after that, man. Like,
yeah.
Like I said, just seeing, one of your, like I said, man, seeing somebody in your same uniform, right?
Yeah. It's
it's like this is reality, man.
It's like you're looking at a fucking reflection of you.
Exactly right,
Shit didn't have nobody's name on it. If that was you in his
Exactly right.
position, then that would be you right there.
And it might be. It very well could have been.
So you guys got him out. Did you guys get both of the Marines out?
No, it's as far as I know, that, like as I said, that I'm not sure about the captain.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's rough.
At the time there were, like I said, the IED problem was fucking off the charts. So none of the higher ups, commanders or anything like that, are riding around in a Humvee, right? They're going to take a helicopter everywhere. Mm-hmm. So our battalion commander flew in on a helicopter while we were all driving, getting blown up to retrieve, the body and take it back to base. So, and at that time, that was the most important thing, to get him back. So
yeah,
I'm glad they did, and it was heavy, man. Like I could see, I could see that whatever was living in the water was starting to eat off of his body. And you can't really prepare yourself for anything like that. Like I said earlier, it's like, oh, I'm going to go to the infantry, and you can only expect so much, because there's things you can see and do that will blow your mind, like that you could never imagine anyway. Mm-hmm. That you could never see yourself in that place. And it's
right.
Like I said, it was and it was some shit, right?
Yeah.
And I'm just glad I was there.
And also, I mean, I know it was the most, Marines and, military in general, we don't leave nobody behind.
That's absolutely right.
If it's up to us. And so not only, I think, was it the most important thing to you guys at the time, but also the fucking family, man. Like, I can't put myself in the position of, being a mother, a father, brother, sister, whatever, a family member, hearing about your loved one, missing in action and not knowing where he is, not being able to like see him or her, not being, the possibility of not being able to get closure if you can't find, that person or the Marine, or, you know what I mean? Like, imagine if the family would, at least now, to get closure, like, oh, they brought him back. We could have his funeral. We could, have this memorial, all this stuff. But I just couldn't imagine what it would be like to not get that kind of closure and just wonder, like, forever. I wonder where my kid is, or my brother is, or my cousin.
People living that right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. After three Marines from our company go down, the one from Easy, we get called to go to Fallujah. We've got two weeks left on this deployment. At 2 weeks when you got 2 weeks left on a deployment, it's like, fuck it, let's go home. You're gonna kind of drop your pack, right?
Yeah.
Well, anyway. So there's a sniper in Fallujah, right? and so let me go back. Before this, we get a DVD, right? We get a DVD. We pop the DVD in. They show it to us, and what it is, it's snuff videos of us, right? Of the insurgents filming themselves shooting Marines, and so and the guy behind the rifle is some sort of sniper, right? And they don't know where he's coming from, anything like that. But it turns out he was doing it like from a trunk of a car, kind of like DC sniper style. But he's getting so close to these Marines, to shooting them in places like, you know, where the Kevlar doesn't cover, like in the armpits or like in these little gaps of armor, right? It's super accurate and super close, because people are saying it sounds like the shot is coming from like 25 yards away, right? So somehow they're getting real close to these guys, and it's all on video. They're making videos of it. There's the music playing, you know. I don't know if you've seen that kind of thing, but so we get sent to Fallujah to go help and try and like tamp down that problem, right? And like going after the sniper is not what you want to be doing, you know. You're kind of like, you're going to be the shit into the stick right on that one. And you know, we're there in Fallujah. They told us, you know, they could possibly be in a black BMW, right? Everything you hear over there is black BMW. And there's a black BMW circling our position, right? We're kind of in a neighborhood, kind of an outcropping of buildings, right? And he's driving around the area, so we're like going down alleys, building, you know, bounding in between buildings, trying to get a shortcut to get an eye on this vehicle. And as I'm doing that, you know, I've got my corpsman with me, my boy Doc, and you know, we're bounding like through these alleyways. He's covering me. Boom, I run by, tap. We keep going, and then we decide to go back, right? And like shots start going off, right? So my legs start moving a little faster, and so I'm running, and I miss his shoulder when I go to tap him to let him know, man, like, all right, pick up, come on. And so I have to go back, right? Boom, and this is like, basically I'm just kind of like sliding back the other way to boom, hey, let's go. And I get my feet back under me. I take off running right there. And then I'm running down the street, and this little kid starts running towards me. And the kids are always curious, right? Mm-hmm. They want to touch your gear. They want to, you know, mystery and all this stuff. I could see that's what he was coming to do. I'm like yelling at him, like, get the fuck back. Like, you know, I got my hand out like that. And as I put my hand out like that, the kid's head explodes. You know, and he falls on the street. It's, you know, we immediately, you know, we keep going. You know, we keep going. I think we made our way through some gates, went into a courtyard, and then kind of regrouped. And after that, we came back out. We're looking around. The mother's in the street, wailing. The father's out there. The street. There was a lot of water on the streets that day, and that day all the water was full of blood from that kid. And we're just, I mean, it's just, it takes, the notch goes up again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
who shot the kid?
We don't know.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just fucking kids just running right at you, and these fucking just boom, just.
It sounded like the shot went off. I could like feel it, right? That's how fucking close it felt.
You felt that little snap.
Yeah.
Fucking.
I felt that little snap. I looked at the fucking black BMW. I don't know about this black BMW, but it's parked in an alley right there, close by. And as soon as it goes out, boom, this thing fucking spins the wheels backwards and gets the fuck out of there, right?
Wow.
So, I don't know.
So it may have been that sniper?
It could have been. Oh, I mean.
Fuck, you know, man.
Yeah. Yeah. And so.
How old do you think this kid was?
This is the boy, man. You know, and so we're in the street. I'm standing in the street, and there's the water in the streets full of blood. And the dad walks up to me, and he's crying. He's like, why? And he shows me the round. He puts a round in my hand. It's just a mushroom round, right? Mm-hmm. He's like, why? And he like puts the round in my hand, and I'm like, I'm trying to tell him it wasn't us, dude. This is not, we're getting shot at from like different fucking, buildings and shit like that. And, it's like at that moment, it's you're looking around because it feels like something is about to come down on us, right? We get they get the army psyops in there. They come in, talk to them with their speakers and things like that, and then we're waiting on the outside while that's going on. And by that, we're still getting like pot shots. I mean, it's not anything too crazy, but another one of our squad leaders is standing by his Humvee, and he hears and feels what he thinks is a Coke bottle hitting him in the foot, and then he looks down and it's a Russian grenade, right? And it's still, instead of having a pin on him, they'll put like the end of a water hose over it to hold it together, and whoever threw it didn't pull that off, so it ended up not going off on him, and
Oh shit!
Yeah.
So it hit his foot from somebody. He didn't just step on it. Somebody tossed it at him.
Yeah, because they're parked next to a fence, right? So it came over the fence, rolled under the Humvee, and then rolled into his foot. It didn't go off, So yeah, that was just one day, man. Like, and that thing was fucked from the get go. It's like, we had a Marine open up a faulty flashbang grenade, blew all his fingers off. Like right before like we're supposed to be doing all this stuff, and it was just kind of like at the time you don't really notice these sequence of events, but then here we are, like, what, 16 years later, like then you see it's like, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, when you're putting it all together, right? At the time, it's just, you're just dealing with incident, like as they happen. You're just dealing with that situation at the time, and then once you deal with that, you're off to the next situation. So
yeah,
and then now talking about it, you're like fucking,
Well, yeah, I didn't realize till just the other day that all that kind of happened within like days of each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was,
man.
And like I said, there was a lot of frustration because a lot of this is IED attacks, and there's not a lot you can do about that, right? There's nothing you can take it out on, like people.
Yeah. Yeah, man. It's I know that that, I don't know. Did you experience this? I know once they start to learn our standard operating procedures and stuff about getting hit with the IED, getting out, sweep, going and assessing the area.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of the secondaries.
Absolutely.
A lot of people are getting hit with the secondary IEDs.
Yep.
And that was really fucking people up because now we're outside of the fucking Humvees and all that, and that was really fucking a lot of people up.
Yeah. Secondaries were no joke. And after that day, we recovered the Marine from the Canal Road. It turns out there was a fucking IED on the Canal Road that we were waiting on that didn't go off either.
Fuck.
So.
Dude, imagine like just imagine how many IEDs you've probably rolled over that didn't fucking go off. You know what I mean? Because I'd imagine there's more that didn't go off that do. You know what I mean? I think most of them are probably faulty, but just just imagine like not knowing, having no fucking clue how like all these little moments that you were just that close to fucking getting hit like that.
Yeah, and there was there was a time where there was some kind of aircraft bomb rigged up as an IED, and only the blasting cap went off. So we're driving by, pop, instead of a boom. That's all you hear. You just hear the blasting cap. Went by, checked it out.
Yeah,
it's faulty detonation.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh yeah, man. Yeah. Yeah. So and I went back after all that. I went back as a civilian.
Okay. So you get out.
Yeah.
You get out. And what was that like? Did you went back? You went back as a civilian, as a contractor, right? Military contractor.
Yeah, I had. So war is a drug, man.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And at the time, I was just kind of addicted. It's like adrenaline, right? I don't say that to like brag or anything like that, or it's just like you get into a place where you feel like you belong and you feel like everything you do, man, everything it's just kind of like contributes to something in that world, whether that's like you surviving or the other person surviving. Your purpose is huge, right? Mm-hmm. So that's what it is, right? You feel like you have this tremendous purpose, and I kind of still felt like that after I got out, and I had terminal leave, so technically I was still in the Marines when I started training with a contracting company.
You went right into it.
I went right into it, man. I couldn't wait, like, you know, and so I went there, did that, found myself back in Baghdad again. Yeah, we're on a mission there. Again, IED and ambush. One of our guys ends up getting hit, and it's one of those hits where there's really not much you can do anything about, right? So as we're being shot at, our guy goes down, he's too heavy to carry again, right? So I have to grab a hold of the back of his vest, and then I put like part of the rest of my body is like holding on to the back of the pickup truck, right? We're using the pickup truck to drag him off the X. We get him off the X, and I'm working on him, you know, and I go to raise his head, and my hand went inside of his skull, like up to my wrist, right? It was not good. And so, boom, I'm doing what I can. There's like shit going off in the background, and like I'm ready to just like, I'm ready to go, right? Ready to engage whatever I got to do. And I see like just this like traffic is stopped on the road, right? And I look and I'm like, you know, I see that. And then same time I've got this guy's head right here, right? And my rifle's right here. It's slung around me, and I look behind me, and I could see somebody standing behind me, right? And I could see there wasn't one of us. So I click my weapon off safe, right? And I turn around because I'm gonna shoot this fucking whoever this is standing behind me, and they're gone, right? And I hear a voice in my head louder than anything, almost like a person is like inside of my head telling me, "Hey man," like as I'm looking down at my teammate right here bleeding out. I don't really want to go into detail on that, just, you know, but you can imagine the voice, it's like a voice in my head tells me, man, it's like a very like, it sounds like another person, right? It's like, hey man, like one of my friends tells me, hey man, maybe it was him telling me that, hey man, you got to get out of here. You got to get out of here, man. You're gonna be next, dude. You got to stop this shit. You know what I mean? And yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Almost like that's him out of his body, like saying, hey, get the fuck out of here, dude.
That's what
like,
I felt like. It was such a loud and clear voice, man.
That's crazy, dude. That's wild.
That was at the end of that day, man, I took my pants off. I had so much blood on my pants that, you know, they stood up on their own. So
man.
Yeah, it's like, say, man, some things you look back and you're like, fucking, hey, did that shit happen? That shit really fucking happened, man.
How old were you at this time? You just got out of the Marines.
Dude. Yeah, I was still 22.
22 years old, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, compared to what most 22-year-olds are fucking doing, like, and, you know, in our world, in our country, like, you know, not saying that they need to experience this, but man, that's just something fucking else, man, to have to experience that. Like,
yeah,
you just kind of grow up real fucking fast.
Real fucking quick, dude.
You know, talk to me a little bit about transitioning, man. You obviously you're in, you get out, and you go right into contracting. So it's almost like you're not really out because you're surrounded by fucking. I imagine everybody's a vet, like a fucking most likely combat vet.
Yeah.
So you kind of didn't have time to deal with the transition and at that time. But what about when you stopped contracting? And did there ever come a time when you got some downtime and all this shit that you experienced in the military and contracting caught up to you?
Yeah. I think we all have always kind of drank a little too much.
Right.
But something like that definitely kind of adds to it. And yeah, there's a lot of things, man. Like it's kind of a hard question, but it's like, I mean, yeah, I think there was so much going on that I didn't even realize how much was going on.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's how I think what was happening there.
What I think is that we get so accustomed to that feeling that it becomes the new norm. Like, so if you ask me, hey, am I feeling anxious? Are you feeling this? It's like, nah, I'm just feeling how I always feel.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
But for some people, eventually there comes a point where like, wow, like I am feeling this shit. This did affect me. Maybe they come across a treatment. Like for me, I went and got the Stan Ganglia block SGB shot in my neck after listening to Dakota Meyer talk about it on Joe Rogan podcast.
Yeah.
When I got that, dude, I walked out of the fucking hospital, the VA in Long Beach, crying because I hadn't felt it felt like they sucked all the worry, all the anxiety out of my fucking body, and I hadn't felt like that for so long. And I'm like, wow, this is what it fucking feels like to just be calm and relaxed and not worried and not anxious about nothing. And you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's when I realized, like, holy fuck, like that's been normal for me all these fucking years, and you just don't think nothing of it,
It's strange, right? You think you have yourself in check. You think, I mean, I consider myself a self-aware person, right?
Right.
Try my best, but there's just some things you can't separate yourself far away enough from to really get an objective look at it, right?
Yeah. What do you do to kind of cope with those feelings? For some people it's exercise, and I know you fucking get after it. We just got crazy on the fucking beach not too long ago. Is it going after a goal? I know you said you did a little bit of time at Harvard and film school. Like, or did those things help you out, or they,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then just art, man, and film and writing. Write a lot. Just keep it moving, dude.
Yeah.
And
I think writing's I think writing is a lot more impactful than people think.
Yeah.
I listen to Jordan Peterson a lot. He has some quote, I'm gonna fuck it up right now, but it's something about like if you can become good at writing, like I think it's speaking and reading or something like that, like you'll become absolutely fucking dangerous, right?
Yeah.
And so writing essentially is pretty much you taking your thoughts out of your head and putting them on fucking paper and creating more space in your mind. You know what I mean?
It's huge. I didn't mention it, but that's what I did every time, man. When I was in Iraq, every time something would happen, every time, there was a lot of time we didn't see shit because combat, that it goes like that.
Yeah.
Boring to holy fuck. You know what I mean? And every time after something like that would happen, dude, I'd write it. I go back to the hooch, man, and I write it in a journal. I would write what I witnessed. I was always fucking blown away by the bravery of like these Iraqi guys that like did decide to like fight with us, and like our interpreters and things like that. That's one. Now that I mention it, man, my interpreter's the guy I'll never forget, dude. He's out there. There's we're 21-year-old fucking dudes out there, and he's a 21-year-old dude out there. We've never met each other in our life. We don't speak the same fucking language. We're definitely not from the same neighborhood. We're not from the same country. We're not from the same. We're worlds apart, right? Mm-hmm. But when it came down to it, dude, that guy would pick up a rifle and protect our life, man. Mm-hmm. And we did the same for him, and that's like the kind of stuff you're like eternally grateful for.
Yeah,
we never knew what happened to him. After that, after we left, it was just like, keep in touch. He gave us an email. Several of us emailed him.
Yeah,
we don't get any responses, so you know, we all go to thinking that he's not around anymore, and that may very well be the case. But
dude, it takes some balls, right? Because
fucking balls,
you know,
dude.
Here we are over there, and we know. I mean, you hope that you're gonna make it back, right? But you know that eventually, if you stay alive, you're coming back. You're leaving this place. Whereas these guys are like
never leaving.
They're fucking helping you, and we're gonna leave them, and they're gonna stay there and have to deal with the fucking consequences maybe of that.
Yeah, not to mention, I mean, these guys, they don't, you know, they wear ski masks and, you know, they hide their identities, right? They're working in the same, they're working amongst their people. Yeah. Right? Their life is probably more at risk than ours, right? Mm-hmm. And whatever gets, revenge gets like exacted upon them from, you know, whatever insurgency is probably going to be is going to be far worse, because it's not only going to be them, it's going to be their family, and it's going to be, you know. Yeah. So it's, you know, I always wonder what happened to him. Yeah. Hero is what his name. This is like his nickname.
Oh yeah, Hero. Yeah. That's cool. Yeah. Well, we're getting ready to cut the tape, man. You know, it's been a little bit over an hour. Yeah, it goes by quick. It goes by fast, huh, man? And I'm sure you got plenty of fucking more stories. Like when you're driving home, you're gonna think about like, fuck, I didn't even mention this or mention that. And so, you know, we could always do follow-up ones, dude. And you know, it's good to get you here, man, talking. Thank you. Thank you for fucking being here.
Thank you. Thanks for bringing me into the world.
Yeah, man. But before we cut it, man, I'd like to give everybody an opportunity. If you have any last words, you know, any advice for maybe someone getting out of the military, or maybe struggling with, you know, some of the shit we fucking deal with.
I'm telling you, man, one thing that's been like, is like, I think it's fucking awesome is just these beach workouts, man. These Veteran Tuesday workouts with Matt and Will and those guys. It's like, dude, it's like starting something, man. I mean, that like all the physical stuff is like is like a bonus, right? I'm there 99.9% for the mental aspect. Yeah. Because we keep each other going, man. It's like, and it's only a workout, dude. But you know, you keep doing it for a while. It's like, all right, I'm gonna be here on this date because I don't want to let these dudes down, or I'm gonna like do that. You know, it's like I'm about to fucking pass out right now, but I don't want to let them down. It's like it kind of still lives on, man, and it reminds you like who the fuck you are, dude, and like that you got a lot of fight in you still, man.
Awesome, brother. Hey, thanks for fucking taking a seat, man. It's a big contribution for you know, for what we're doing here, and you know, everybody that sits in the seat and tells their story is really the fucking backbone of what we're doing here at Urban Valor. So,
I appreciate it. Hope I didn't mumble too much.
Nah, man, you're good to go, bro. Thanks again, brother. Appreciate you.
Yeah. Thank you, Josh.
Push it to the limit, I can't go no